Hello, good evening. My name is Uncle K. I'm the creative director of Reader Sports Theatre Arts. It's an after-school theatre program that I run here in Chennai. Um, Today, I have a few of my younger students who will be telling stories for us. Um, we have picked stories mostly from Indian folklore, and I have six storytellers tonight, of whom I think 5 or 8 year olds, and there's one 10-year-old. And just to give a
யார்
heads up,
கழுத்துக்கிறவங்க தான் நிறைய இருக்காங்க. அப்பாட்ட சொல்லியிருக்கேன்.
Wait, we're muting people. Oh, and Kalyan, I muted you by mistake. Please unmute yourself.
all right. Okay, just to give a heads up, uh, this is the first time these kids are going to be telling stories of anywhere in the 8 to 12 minute range, which is where most of the stories they are going to tell today are. They are all ESL students, so English is not their first language. And so do bear that in mind. So if they pause occasionally to make up their sentences and form their words, uh, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge for them. And this is the first time, like I said, they're going to do this. They've worked with me in the past. They've done monologues. We have done musicals on stage, but they've never done a 10-minute monologue in that sense. Um so here we go. So today I have six storytellers, all young ones. Actually, I have one more session tomorrow, which is where I have tweens and teens telling stories as well. Um, so along with the storytelling today, I would be sharing some inputs in terms of how to prepare for your stories for the kids, and also in terms of the tricks that I use to make the stories more impactful, as well as improve the way one prepares for storytelling. All right.
Okay,
Okay.
I just want to say we have 33 different computers tuned in here, but I'm going to be spotlighting mostly the young people. But
Yep.
and most people have their cameras turned off. But there are 33 computers from all over the world tuned in tonight. So go ahead.
Right, Eric. All right. So, kids, one of the first things that any storyteller tells you in their training sessions, we have had some wonderful training sessions this year, I think in CSF. Um, they say, know your story, right? You need to know the story from the beginning to the end, and you need to understand the story. Um, but it is a challenge for younger kids to remember a story that's 10 minutes long and be able to tell it back, right? So, how do you do that? And some of these kids also find it little difficult to read the stories as well. They're 7, 8 years old. They're not always proficient in reading stories in English. So one of the tricks that I suggest to my students is this. Ask one of your parents to read the story and record it, right? You record the audio and you keep playing that audio to yourself again and again and again. And if you're not able to understand any particular word or a particular sentence, you ask them, what does this mean? And based on that, over a period of time, you will be able to understand and remember the story from the beginning till the end just by listening to the audio. And when you're practicing telling your story, it always helps sometimes to keep listening to it also at the same time. All right. So that was my first tip and trick that I always recommend for the younger storytellers to use when they are trying to prepare a story, especially if it is in a new language. In this case here, they're going to be telling it in English, which is not their first language. All right. So today we have for our first story, we have Veena, who will be starting off on a happy story, a story about how to be happy. Veena, are you ready? All right. Okay, I'm going to remove my spotlight. All right. Thanks, Eric. All right, Veena, are you ready? So introduce yourself, Veena.
I suggest to the young people, when you're telling a story, don't look at yourself. You can look in the camera and you can look at the little pictures of people on above yourself.
Okay, Eric, the one thing which we did to make sure they don't look at themselves or don't look at the people, they don't have a screen in front of them. They only have a camera in front of them.
Okay.
So they are actually facing a camera with a ring light and telling the story to the camera.
Okay.
So the computer is facing the other way, so they don't look at the screen. All right, Veena, ready? Here you go. Start off.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Veena M. I study in third grade and I live in Chennai. Today, I'm going to be telling the story of the king and the cow. Once upon a time, there was a king who worried all day and all night. He did not sleep for all his worries of the future. Like, his wife will not love him, his subjects will be destroyed, he will lose his money or power, all that. One day, when the king was roaming around the marketplace dressed as a farmer, he heard some happy singing. What the lion? The king like to roam without the roof. Love alone, happiness is the truth. Then he wondered, where is this happy singing coming from? And then he saw a tumble down. He looked inside the hut, saw a man who was dressed in rags and was thin. He was happily singing and dancing with a loaf of bread. Happy, 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 happy. The king knocked on the door and said, can you please spare some food for a beggar? Yes, he asked, and the man said, oh, okay, please come and share my bread. He said, happy, and as they were eating, the king asked, why are you so happy? And who are you? I'm a cobbler, said the man. I fix shoes. And today I earned enough money to buy this loaf of bread. And the king asked, what if you don't earn enough money for tomorrow? What if you don't have enough food? I have faith, the cobbler said. All will be well. So as the king was going back to the palace, he thought, if this cobbler doesn't earn enough money, he won't have such faith, he thought. So the king decided to test him. So next day at the marketplace, the man usually goes to fix the shoes. He saw a huge decree, and it said it is legal to mend the shoes for others. From this day on, whoever's shoes have worn out, that person must buy a new pair. The cobbler was very sad, and he thought, oh no, what am I gonna do? How will I earn enough money for today's food? And he saw an old lady struggling to pull a heavy bucket of water from the well. Was struggling to pull a heavy bucket of water from the well. So the cobbler went to her and said, oh, Granny, let me help you with that bucket of heavy water. I'll carry it home for you. So the cobbler pulled the heavy bucket of water from the well, carried it home for Granny. And she said, oh, thank you, Sonny. Here, take 2 points as a reward, she said. The cobbler had an idea. So he spent all day carrying water for others until he earned enough money to buy some soup. That evening, when the king hurried to the cobbler's house, he thought, shall we weeping tonight? He thought. And then from a distance, he heard some happy singing. Happy, 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 happy. And then he was like, oh no, how is this cobbler so happy? So he went to the house hut to find out. He saw a small window and saw him happily sipping soup and singing. Happy, 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 happy. And the king knocked on the door. The cobbler opened it and said, "Oh, it's you again. Please come and share my soup. You look hungry." The cobbler said. So as he was sipping the soup, the king asked, "How on earth did you pay for the soup? For I saw you decreed." "I carried water," the cobbler said. So the next day at the well, there was another decree. It said it is illegal to carry water for others. From this day on, whoever needs water at their house, they must take it themselves. It said. The cobbler was puzzled. And he looked around and thought, "Oh no, what am I gonna do?" And then he saw an old man struggling to carry a block of wood on his back. So the cobbler's face lit up. So he spent all day carrying wood for others until he earned enough money to buy some chicken. That evening, when the king walked to the cobbler's house, he thought, "They sure be crying at my feet today," he thought. But then, from outside the palace gates, he heard some happy singing. Happy, 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 happy. And he went to the cobbler's house and saw through the window, and he saw him happily eating some chicken and singing. Happy, 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 happy. The king knocked on the door. The cobbler opened it, and she said, "Oh, it's you again, friend. Please come in and share my chicken." Chicken. So as they were eating, the king again asked, "How did you pay for this chicken? For I again saw the new decree." And the cobbler said, "I carried wood." So as the king was going back to the palace, he thought, "This man doesn't earn enough food to eat. He won't have such faith." So the king decided to eat. So the king thought, I must do something a little drastic. So the next day, a palace guard announced that all the wood carriers from this day on will now serve as palace guards. The cobbler obeyed as he stood outside the palace, the shiny metal sword by his side. So at the end of the day, once he was going home, he asked the guard, "May I get my wages now?" And the guard said, "No, wages will only wait at the end of the month, once you've really proven yourselves." He said, the cobbler walked back the street. He was hungry and tired, and he didn't know what to do. Until he remembered passing a pawn shop and pawned his sword. So that night, when the king was walking to the goddess' house, thought he heard some happy singing. Happy, 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 happy. So the king went to the goddess' house, saw through the window, and he saw the goddess happily eating from the table with his cheese, chicken, bread, and all that. So the king knocked on the door, and the goddess said, "Oh, let's come inside. Let's have a party."
இந்த பாக்குறான்டா வைஃபை செல்லுல டேட்டா வந்து
So as he was eating, the cobbler told him all about pawning his sword and being a palace guard. All about being a palace guard. So the king asked, "What are you doing with that block of wood?" And the cobbler said, "I'm carving a wooden sword to replace my metal one." And the king asked, "What if you need your metal sword tomorrow?" And the cobbler said, "It's okay. No one will know." So the next day at the palace, it was a bright and shining morning, and the guards got a thief to the palace and told, "It is your duty to chop off this man's head. He is a thief and he has stolen someone's property in the market. And the cobbler was like, oh no, what should I do? If I pull out my sword, everyone will see it. And then he said a loud prayer. Oh Lord, if this man. No. And the thief fell on his knees and said, please spare my life. My family was starving. And the cobbler was like, oh no, what should I do? If I pull out my sword, everyone will see it. So the cobbler told a loud prayer. Oh Lord, if this man is innocent, turn my sword to wood. But if he really is a thief and has stolen someone's property in the market, grant with him to chop off his head. So when the cobbler pulled out his sword, it was made of wood. The crowd gasped. And the king came down and asked him, do you know who I am? And the cobbler said, yes, your majesty, you are the king. And the king said, do you really recognize me? And the cobbler looked at him once and said, no, your majesty, I don't. And the king said, I am the beggar who came to your house. I have been giving you all those tests, and your faith has driven me away from most of my fears of the future. So from now on, you are going to be my most trusted advisor. Thank you, and the end.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you.
All right, so this is again a story which is quite common across quite a few cultures. I think I've heard this story in different from different countries. Um, so we thought we will start this session on a very happy note. Um, so that was Veena. She's a third grader actually. All right. So before we move on to the second storyteller, I have another trick for you, right? One of the easiest ways to make storytelling very interesting is to use voices. Use a different voice to portray each character, and that way the story becomes a little more interesting than if you use the same plain old voice for each character, right? You can say, "Hello, Mr. Rabbit," said the mouse. "What are you doing in the forest today?" Instead of saying, "Hello, Mr. Rabbit, what are you doing in the forest today?" Right? Or we could say, "Greetings, brave knights," said the king. "Are you ready to embark on the quest to slay the dragon?" And the knights said, "Yes, your majesty, we will vanquish the dragon and protect the kingdom." Right? So try to use different voices for different characters. That makes the story very, very interesting. Uh, just to give an example, when I was preparing these kids for this storytelling, I tried not to overcoach them. So I just told them use a different voice. I did not tell them what voice to use. So I let them choose whatever voice that they wanted to use for each of these characters, and I let them do that. So all the voices that you hear are made up from their own minds in terms of how they see the character as. All right. So coming up is our next storyteller, um, Leah. Leah, are you ready?
Yes.
All right, I'll spotlight you. All right, Leah is going to tell us a very popular Indian folk tale. Go ahead, Leah.
With the introduction. Good evening, everyone. My name is Leah A, and I'm third grade, and I'm going to be telling the story about Harishandra. Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived a Brahmin named Harishandra. He was very poor and struggled to provide for his family. One day, he decided to take his family to the city, hoping to find better fortunes. When they reached the city, they went to the toast of a wealthy merchant called Stuladatta. Harisharma asked Stuladatta if he can work at his house. So Stuladatta gave his family jobs. Sons became gardeners, his wife became a kitchen maid, and Harisharma himself became assistant for Stuladatta, helping him with various activities. One day, there was a huge excitement in the city because Tuladatta's daughter was getting married. There was a big feast arranged, and many people from all over the kingdom are coming to attend the wedding. Harisharma thought he can eat every single food item there, but unfortunately, he was not invited. Sad and hungry, Harisharma went home and complained to his wife, "It's me being poor and stupid that I'm treated with such a disrespect." I have assured him, I will pretend to have magical powers to achieve Stuladatta's respect. And tomorrow when opportunity comes, you tell Stuladatta that I have magical powers. At night, Harisharma went to Stuladatta's stable and stole the bridegroom's horse and hid it in the garden in the sun. The next morning, everyone panicked because the bridegroom's horse was stolen. Stuladatta and his servants searched for the thief, worried about the horse. Seeing the opportunity, Harisharma's wife told Stuladatta, "My husband is a wise man who has magical powers. He can get your horse back for you. Why don't you ask him?" So Stuladatta called Harisharma and asked him to find his horse. Harisharma agreed but started scolding Stuladatta. "Yesterday I forgot it, but today you want my help?" Stuladatta apologized. "I'm sorry, I forgot you. Forgive me, Harisharma. Who took our horse?" Harisharma sat down and started drawing diagrams and kept on saying strange words. And suddenly shouted, "The horse is hidden in the garden in the south. Go there quickly, or it might not be there." So, Stuladatta asked a group of men to go there and they found a horse. Harisharma was rewarded with golds and gifts and lived happily for a while. One day, the king noticed that a thief was stealing gold from the palace. He had heard of Harisharma's story and asked Harisharma to find who the thief was. Harisharma was so scared and nervous that the king is going to find out his lie. He decided to stall. "Your Majesty, please give me one day. I'll tell you the truth tomorrow." So the king gave him a room surrounded by guards, while the real thief called Jiva, who's a servant for the king, had heard that the king has got a wise man to find the thief. She was so scared, so she went to the door and heard what he was saying. Harisharma was angry at himself. He told, "White Tongue, why did you do this with your greediness? You wicked one is going to be punished soon." In their language, tongue means Jiva. So the real thief called Jiva saw that she already knew that he was the thief. She entered the room and fell on Harisharma's feet and said, "You wise man, I'm Jiva, the one you're talking about. I'm the one who stole all the gold from the palace. The gold is hidden under the pomegranate tree in the garden. Please forgive me. I don't want to die." Harisharma didn't know who the thief was, but he decided to pretend. "I already knew all of this already. Give me your money, leave the city, and never come back." Jiva gave all of her money to Harisharma and left the city. The next morning, Harisharma told proudly, "I know where the gold is. The gold is hidden under the pomegranate tree in the garden. I don't know who the thief is, but I have no doubt left the city." So the king asked the gardeners to dig there, and they found all the gold that was stolen. Harisharma was rewarded with gold, lands, and gifts, and the real thief called, but the king had a minister who told, "Your Majesty, we must be careful. How do you know he's saying the truth about magical powers? He could also be working with the thieves." The king agreed and asked his guards to bring a covered pot with something inside it. When they kept the pot, the king said, "Harisharma, you should guess what's inside this pot with your magical powers. If you guess it wrong, you will die." Harisharma was so scared and he thought that this will be the end of his life. He started talking to himself. "What a nice pot you got himself, Manduka." Manduka was a childhood name. "This is going to be the end of you, Manduka." The king clapped and asked the guard to open the pot, and a frog jumped out. In their language, Manduka means froggy. So Harishama was rewarded with more gold, lands, and gifts, and lived happily ever after. The end.
Wonderful. Beautiful.
Good job, Leah. This is a famous story, I think, that we have heard many times. Uh, and there are parallels to some of the stories which I've heard from other cultures as well in this. Anyone would like to share any thoughts on this?
I can share.
Sure, sure, Marina.
Yeah, I can share. I think it's wonderful to see how both the girls have worked first wonderful stories, but how they are really working with to interpret, just like you said, the different voices, and they do it in their personal way. I mean, the first girl, she was more of moving around. This girl, she was very precise and moving her hands in a beautiful way. And she was so in this story and putting the voice, uh, being in the characters in different ways. It was lovely, lovely to see, lovely work.
Yeah, thanks, Marina. Okay. All right. So before we go on to the third storyteller, I just told you in my second tip to use voices, right? Using voices is one of the ways where you can make your stories very, very interesting. But voices is not something that everybody can do, right? Some find it easier, some find it difficult. So how do you differentiate dialogues when you're finding it a little difficult to do multiple voices? Okay, so especially in a setup like this where you have to tell the story online, telling it directly into the camera for all the dialogues, sometimes it can be a little confusing to the viewer as to who is the speaker in that dialogue. So what I do, what I tell my kids to do when they're doing this kind of a situation is use the angles, right? So when you start a dialogue with one person facing the other person, uh, so since it's only one person doing it, so I ask them, turn slightly to one side and do your dialogue as though you're talking to somebody else. And then let the other person turn slightly as though facing the other person, the other 180 degree, and then speak their dialogue, right? So in this situation, even though you may not be able to do a lot of voices, but just because you're changing the angle of the dialogue delivery, it kind of makes it easier for the people to understand which person is who in this particular dialogue. All right. So you will see some of this when the kids will be telling the stories at some point. So use the angles, especially when you're doing dialogues, when people are talking to each other. So it's easier for people to make out who is who in a dialogue, because otherwise you will have to keep saying he said, she said, he said, she said all the time, which is okay when you're reading a story or a book, but when you're actually telling a story, it kind of becomes a little bit of a drag. All right. So next time when you have to do a story where you have dialogues, try moving around. Just work with the angles a little bit to work as speakers from when you have multiple speakers having a dialogue. Okay. So we are going to do our third storyteller today. Uh, are you ready, Kelly? All right. So we have Kelly, another third grader, who is going to tell us. Sorry, let me remove myself. All right, Kelly, please introduce yourself and then start your story.
Everyone, my name is Kelly. I'm studying third grade. Now, I'm from Chennai. I'm gonna tell the story about Mushkas the bridegroom. Once upon a time, there's a great sage called Namaskar. Yajna and his wife lived in a forest near River Tata. They didn't have any children. One morning, the sage went to the river for his morning prayer. He took a scoop of water, and closed his eyes and prayed. Suddenly, a sound came. Plop! He opened his eyes and saw, and there was a tiny little mouse. And the sage looked up, there was a big bird. And the sage said, "Don't worry, little mouse, you're safe with me." And the sage had an idea. He uses all his magical powers, turned the little mouse into a little girl. He went to his home and told his wife, "See, look what the gods gave us. A beautiful girl. We can raise her as our daughter. Her name is Mushka." And a few years passed. Mushka grew up into a beautiful woman. And the sage's wife came to him and said, "Our daughter is grown up. It's time for her to get married," said the wife. And "You're right, but who will we ask to marry her?" said the sage. "Maybe we can ask her," said the wife. "You're right, let's go and ask her," said the sage. And the sage and his wife came to her and asked, I want to marry the most powerful being in the world." "Who's the most powerful being in the world?" he asked. "Maybe Surya, the sun god." They closed to, and the sage closed his eyes and prayed. Suddenly, a big flash of light and Surya appeared. "Oh, great sage, why have you called me?" he asked. "We would like you to marry our daughter," said the sage. "Oh, sage, first tell me, why do you want me to marry your daughter?" said Surya. "Because my daughter wants to marry the most powerful being in the world." "I cannot, because there's someone who's more powerful than me. When their cloud comes, they cut me. I became invisible. Maybe you should ask Megha to marry your daughter." And Surya disappeared. They again closed his eyes and prayed. Suddenly, a thunder and lightning and stars appeared. "Oh, great sage, why have you called me?" he asked. "My daughter wants to marry the most powerful being in the world. First, we asked Surya, but he said Megha's more powerful than him. So we would like you to marry our daughter." And Megha said, "I cannot, but there is someone more powerful than me. When the wind comes, I will blow into and turn into clouds and pieces. Maybe you should ask Vayu to marry your daughter." And Megha disappeared. And they again closed his eyes and prayed. Suddenly, the wind blew and Vayu appeared. Oh, great sage, why have you called me? He asked. My daughter wants to marry the most powerful being in the world. First, we asked Surya, but he said Megha's more powerful than him. And Megha said, you're more powerful than him. So we would like you to marry our daughter. And and Vayu said, I have powers to drive the storm clouds. But there is someone who's more powerful than me. I cannot defeat him. I push and I pull with all my strength, but I cannot defeat him. He remains firm and unmoved, utterly powerless against a mighty mountain Parvata. Maybe you should ask Parvata to marry your daughter. And Vayu disappeared. The sage went to the mountain and closed his eyes and prayed. Suddenly, the crowd started rumbling and Parvata woke up. Oh, great sage, why have you called me? He asked. My daughter wants to marry the most powerful being in the world. First, we asked Surya, but he said Megha's more powerful than him. And Megha said, Vayu's more powerful than him. And Vayu said, you're more powerful than him. So we would like you to marry our daughter. And Parvata said, I cannot because there's someone who's more powerful than me. He makes in holes in me always. Maybe you should ask Mouse King to marry your daughter. And they called the Mouse King who living in the hole. And they called, we would like you to marry our daughter because my daughter wants to marry the most powerful being in the world. First, we asked Surya, but he said Megha's more powerful than him. And Megha said Valu's more powerful than him. And Valu said Parvata's more powerful than him. And Parvata said, you're more powerful than him. So we would like you to marry our daughter. And the mouse agreed. But, oh, sage, but there's just one problem. I'm a mouse. Your daughter's a human. How can I marry her? And the sage laughed. Long ago, I changed mouse into a little mushika. And I'll change the spell mushka into a little mouse. And the mouse he married Mushka and they disappeared into the mountain. That's how Mushka found a perfect husband. Thank you. The end.
Good job. Great, Leah. Although I think she was a little stressed today. Um, sorry, Kelly. Um, these kids are not used to performing for an audience, at least for in English for so long. So yeah, so good job, Kelly. Anyone wants to say anything? All right. Okay. So you talked about how using voices makes stories interesting and how you can change the angles that you use when you're speaking so that you can differentiate speakers even if you don't do voices. Okay. Now, another thing about voices. it's not just about using different voices for different characters, but also for same character, you can use different types of voices, right? It's in terms of how you bring out the emotions. You can use a happy voice, a sad voice, a crying voice, angry voice, a scared voice. Using these voices is something that will change the entire delivery of your story, right? The more you're able to create these emotions when you are using your, by combining it with your expressions and actions and a slightly different voice for each of these emotions within a single character, the story reaches a completely different height, right? So next time when you're trying to tell dialogues, even for us the same character, try to see if there is any emotional element in that dialogue that you can utilize in terms of changing your voice for that particular character. When you do that, it changes the entire perspective of the story itself, right? It makes the story more believable. Okay, all right. We have our fourth storyteller. I see he's already ready there. Ishan, are you ready?
Yes.
All right. So we have Ishan, who's again another third grader, who is going to tell us again another popular story. So I'll leave it to him to introduce himself and tell us the story, Ishan. Go on.
Hello, my name is Ishan. I'm studying grade 3. I'm living in Chennai. I'm going to tell the story of the boy and the drum. Once upon a time, there's a boy who lived with his mother. They were very poor. His mother worked very hard to just earn enough money for them to eat. The boy never had new clothes, new toys, but he was always happy. One day, the mother went to the market to buy vegetables. The mother asked her son, "Dear, what do you want from the market?" said the mother. The boy loves the sound of a drum. So he said, "A drum," said the boy. So the mother went to the market to buy flour and salt, but there wasn't any money to buy a drum. So the mother saw a piece of food on the road and she took it home. And the boy was still happy with a piece of wood, so he went out to play and he sang a song. Dumpty 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 dum, dumpty dumpty dum, dumpty dumpty dum. They asked for a drum and look what they got, a lovely piece of wood. They asked for a drum and look what they got, and the man is good, very very good. Dumpty 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 dum, dumpty dumpty dum, dumpty dumpty dum. While he was singing, he met an old man trying to light fire. He was using wet wood. There was smoke coming. His eyes were red. His arms were tired. He had nothing to eat. The boy gave the piece of wood to the old man. He made two rotis as a reward, and the boy was happy singing his song as he walked. Dumpty 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 dum, dumpty dumpty dum. Dumpty dumpty dum, piece of wood. I got some food, a lovely piece of bread. Piece of bread wood is not a drum, but it got me a bread. A lovely dumpty 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 dum, dumpty dumpty dum, dumpty dumpty dum. While he was singing, he met the potter's wife and a baby in her arms. It was crying because it had nothing to eat. Wow, the baby was crying. Wow, the baby was crying. The boy asked the son, "Potter's wife, why is your baby crying?" said the boy. The potter's wife said, "Since morning, my baby had nothing to eat." So the boy had an idea. He gave two rotis to the potter's wife water wife gave it to the baby. The water wife said, "Eat it." The baby ate it and stopped crying. So the boy walked along happily singing a song. Dumpty 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 dumpty. I gave my bread away. Look what I got! A lovely earthen pot. Piece of bread is not a trap, but got me a pot. A lovely earthen pot. Dumpty 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 dumpty. While he was walking, singing, he met the riverbed. There's a washerman fighting with her wife. So because the wife broke the pot, the washerman said, "Hey, why did you break the pot?" The wife said, "It was just an accident." The boy asked, "Washerman, why are you quarreling with your wife?" Said the boy. The washerman said, "It's because my wife broke the pot. How will I wash all the clothes?" The boy had an idea, so he gave the pot to the washerman. He gave a coat to the boy, and the boy was happily singing a song as he walked. Dumpty 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 dumpty. Walked along the road with the pot in his hand and met the washerman. A tin pot is not a drum, but it got me a coat. So very glad. Dumpty 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 dumpty. While he was walking on the bridge, he saw a young man drop in, but he had nothing to wear. So the boy gave his coat to the young man. The young man thanked the boy. The young man gave the horse to the boy, and the boy was happy singing the song as he walked. Dumpty 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 dumpty. Waving foot so glad I saw a young man dropped in, and he needed a coat, so I gave him my coat. Coat was in turn. Dumpty 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 dumpty. While he was singing, he met a group of people and a groom's father. They were sad because they don't have any horse. So the boy said, "Groom's father, why are you sad with a group of people?" said the boy. The groom's father said, "We don't have any horse. What should we do?" So the boy had an idea. So the boy gave the horse to the groom's father, and the groom's father had a reward. He could say, "Here, you can take one of the instruments," said the groom's father. So the boy said, "A drum," said the boy. The groom's father said, "Okay." So the groom's father took the pot and gave it to the boy. So the boy ran back home to his book and sang a song. Dumpty 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 dum dumpty dumpty dum dumpty dumpty dum. I asked for a drum and got me some wood, a lovely piece of wood. Piece of wood, I got some food, a tasty piece of bread. Piece of bread. With the potter's hungry child, we got enough with pot. Make that pot to a washerman, got a coat again. Gave that coat to a young man in his deed, got a horse with a deed. My horse got me my precious drum, dumpty dumpty dum. When you meet your friends today, try to make the day. When you meet your friends today, try to make the day. Try to make the day. Dumpty 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 dum. Dumpty dumpty dum. Dumpty dumpty dum. The end.
All right, so that was Ishan with the story of the boy at the drum. Any thoughts, anyone?
It was very beautiful putting the rhythm and the song
Yeah,
in between. That was very nice to see. Lovely story as all the other ones. And yeah,
yeah, thanks, Marina. So, as you saw, one of the things that you can do to make stories interesting is to add some other elements, one of those being music, right? Music, it could be if someone, if one of you is who's adept at playing an instrument, it could be an instrument that goes along with the story, or it could be a song. There are lots of stories which use song as a narrative element, and that kind of changes the entire pace at which the story is told. And it's lovely to have those musical elements in between so that it makes the monotony of the textual words that we use, and also makes it a little more interesting to people who are listening. It's not just a voice, but it's a musical voice that comes through in between within the story, and that kinds of makes it a lot more interesting than a regular story. Okay, so that is another tip and trick that you can use when you're telling your story. Add some music, add some songs. There are lots of songs which you can use within your story. Like in the first story, we used the song Happy, right, from Despicable Me. That's a very common song that you can use. There are plenty of other songs. If you're telling a mythological story, for example, you could use a hymn or a shloka to go along with that. Or you could use, if it's a sad story, you could use a sad song. If a happy story, you could use a happy song. It kind of sets the tone in terms of how the story goes. So you could try that next time if you have a story that you think you can add a song. Try adding a song. And one of the things about adding a song into the story is to make it repetitive, right? You need to create a story element where the song keeps coming again and again and again, so that it breaks the monotony of the story, the textual story, the verbal story. Okay, so try that next time. I think it'll make a very interesting choice. Okay, our next storyteller is going to tell us again a very popular story from Indian folklore. It's a story of Akbar and Birbal. Now, Akbar and Birbal, for those who don't know, are real historical persons, right? Akbar was the third Mughal emperor who lived in 15th century. I think he was one of the greatest Mughal emperors, and he ruled for over large parts of India, South Asia, Persia, and among his ministers who were called Navaratnas, there was one called Birbal, who was very well known for his wit and his intelligence and humor. Okay, now Akbar and Birbal stories, although use these two famous persons as characters, they are not actually, may not actually be real stories. They are more used as some kind of no fable kind of a thing, where you use these characters to create a story where Akbar usually gets into trouble with something, and Birbal uses his wit and his humor and intelligence to create a solution. Okay, there are many narratives like this. We have Tenali Rama um, in the south of India. Akbar and Birbal is a more common in the north of India, where you have very similar elements where Tenali Rama creeps, comes up with innovative and witty and humorous solutions to what King Krishnadevaraya comes up with. So here we go. We have Akbar and Birbal. The story, one of the stories of Akbar and Birbal, which will be narrated by Sanvi. Sanvi, are you ready? I think she's ready. Okay, here we go. Sanvi, introduce yourself and tell us the story of Akbar and Birbal.
My name is Sanvi. I'm studying third grade. I'm living in Chennai. I'm gonna tell you the story of Birbal and Akbar. Once upon a time in southern India, winter was so cold that everyone had to wear 3 layers of clothes just to stay warm. The nights the worst, no one dared to venture out in the dark. In the grand palace, not far from the river Yamuna, Emperor Akbar was shivering even though he had a bright palace. bright lit fireplace in his bright lit chamber. He was discussing stately matters with his witty friend Birbal. He told, "This winter seems colder than last," rubbing his hands together. Birbal told, "Indeed, Jahan, this winter seems colder than last." As they continued their conversation, people got an idea to provide warm clothes and hot soup and lodgings for the homeless and poor people. And then people shared his idea to Akbar. "Jahapana, there are a lot of poor people struggling in the cold. Why don't we provide the hot soup, warm clothes, and lodgings for them?" Akbar, while they were discussing about this, Akbar was gazing at the stream Yamuna and told, "Oh, people, look how calm and gentle the river Yamuna flows." And Birbal told, "Yes, Jahapana, it is also beautiful and it is also deadly." And Akbar was confused. How could a river be so deadly? And Birbal replied, "This the river Yamuna is so cold that if anyone isn't careful, they would fall in and lose their life in no time, whether they're an animal or a person." Akbar told, "No need of any conversations, let's go by ourselves and look." As they wrapped themselves in warm clothes and they took a moonlit stroll, and Akbar put his toe in the river Yamuna and then told, You're right, people, it's so cold." And then they were, and then they took another moonlit stroll. And Akbar asked people, "Will anyone be foolish enough to stay all night in the river Yamuna?" And people thought for a while and replied, "I think so, Jahapana, if there is a correct amount of price or money." And Akbar asked, "Then make an announcement. Whoever stands all night in the river Yamuna, they will get 1,000 gold coins." Akbar was sure that no one would come, but a poor farmer came. He told, "My family, Huzur, has been suffering to eat properly for a long time. I want to provide them good food." And then they told, Emperor Akbar announced, "Then make an announcement. Two soldiers will be looking after you if you are doing the task." And as the sun started setting, the farmer went deeper and deeper into the river Yamuna. When the night fell, his teeth were chattering and he is going numb. He was keep on telling himself, "Just one more night and you and your family would eat properly." And he was also gazing at the bright lit palace of Emperor Akbar. As the night passed by, he stood at the emperor's court and told, "Jahapana, I have finished the feast. May I get the prize?" Emperor Akbar was shocked. How could the poor farmer do it? He asked the two guards which have been looking after him. The first guard replied, "He has been standing still in the river Yamuna." The second guard replied, "He was standing still when he was standing gazing at your bright lit palace." Akbar didn't like losing anything, so that he got the first excuse. He told, that was your secret. You took the warmth from my palace, and you shall get no reward. Go back home where you came from." While the poor farmer was walking home, people whispered to him, "Don't worry, I will get your prize back." The next day, Birbal was so late to the court, and then Akbar was furious. What is this Birbal doing? He sent a guard to look what he'll do. And then the guard came and told, "He's cooking khichdi." "Khichdi? Did he forget that he had to come to the court?" Akbar went to Birbal's home and told, "Did you forget that you had to come to court?" And then people told, yes, Jahanpana, I have remembered, but I'm cooking my breakfast. Akbar's cousin. What? Breakfast? It's almost past noon. How could you cook breakfast now? And then he told Jahanpana, no, my, my breakfast isn't cooking. And then Akbar asked, where is the vessel that you have been cooking till now? And he told, it's right above your head. Up was a tall tree. To that tree, a pot was tied up. And down was a blazing fire. The pot is 20 feet away from the fire. Here. And Akbar was furious. People, what sort of a joke is this? The pot is 20 feet away from the fire, and how could it cook? People replied, Jahapanas, as the poor farmer could get one from 1,000 yards away, bright lit palace, one khichdi should cook fast. And Birbal, Akbar stood speechless for a while and told, thanks, Birbal, for teaching me a lesson. Call the farmer today and I will personally give him the reward. And then Birbal told, thanks, Jahapana. The farmer will be so happy. In front of everybody, Birbal told, will anyone want some delicious khichdi? It will only take another 12 hours. Everyone burst into laughter. The end.
That was Sanvi with the story of Birbal's Khichdi. Now, khichdi is a dish made out of rice and lentils cooked together, and it's very popular. It's almost like a comfort food, especially in the north. And during winters, when it's very cold outside, a plate of hot khichdi is something that most people would really, really love. Like I said, these are usually the stories use Akbar and Birbal as narrative elements to just send messages in terms of learnings for people and for kids. So the message here being that, you have to give people what they deserve and not cheat them out of it by using excuses. All right, any thoughts? Then we have just one more storyteller after this in today's session.
I just want to say that this story is, as some other stories I recognize, but this story is about Akbar and Birbal. I used them in Sweden here, working with the 7th grade students. And as we had, there was a school where lots of different nationalities. And I mean, in Sweden, the people are not so very religious or talking about that, but we also have students from Christianity or from the Muslim countries and so. And this I had this section where there was a boy from Chile. He said he once said, "Oh, I want to tell a story from the Bible about the lost son." And so the Muslim children, they were like, "Oh, that, what is that?" And then I said, "Oh no, never mind. It's written about him in the Quran also. He's also there." And they were very silent. And then I introduced the Akbar and Birbal when they came to the 9th grade, and I was also telling them about, this is coming from India, but this Akbar, who was a great, and why he was great, because he allowed it all people, all religions. That's what made him great.
Yeah.
And that was also something that calmed those young boys, especially. They calmed it, and they really liked to do these stories. And so they did. First they learned it in Swedish, and then I said, "Now you tell the story in your own language." And so they did, and then they did a radio program about that. And there was even a boy who was from Africa. He made a new story like in this character. So they are very, very good stuff to work with.
Yeah, they are. They are quite popular here, as especially for children's storytelling. You will find them. Most storytellers use these for children. And like you said, Akbar was a great emperor. He was probably the one who was most open to all religions. He himself was a Muslim, but among the Navaratnas, like I said, there were nine main ministers in his cabinet. They were called Navaratnas, or nine gems, and many of them were Hindus,
Yeah.
which was not the case for many of the Mughal emperors who came afterwards.
No.
Yeah, he was very committed to the secularism as a whole. But yeah, so that's there. So thank you for that, Marina. These are great stories actually. I've been reading stories of Akbar and Birbal since I was 6 7 years old. So yeah, I really do love them. All right. So we have one final story today. We've talked about voices and emotions and singing. Now there's one other element which you can use to improve your storytelling, that is using props, right? Now props can be anything. It could be a mask. It could be instrument item that you're using as part of the story that comes in the story, or we have a variety of storytellers using a variety of props. So puppets is one of them. Today, our final storyteller is going to use some props. She tells again a very popular story. Um, and are you ready? All right, Daisy is here with our final story of the day from Reader's Post. And Daisy, let me spotlight you. All right, Daisy, introduce yourself and tell us the story, please.
Hi, I'm Daisy. I'm studying fifth grade in Chennai. Today, my story is The Cow and the Tiger. Once on the edge of the forest, there lived a farmer who raised a big herd of cows. Every morning, the cow would take the cows through the forest down to the meadow to let them graze on the fresh, green grass. The cows would eat their fill, and in the evening, they returned to their hungry little calves who would be waiting for the mother to come home and feed them. The gentlest and the wisest cow in the herd was called Punyakoti. Punyakoti was the sweet mother to the sweetest little calf anyone had ever seen. Punyakoti had a kind heart. She was loved by all her friends. Punyakoti also liked to tell stories to all the little calves at night and teach them the importance of being good. One must always be honest and truthful, even in the great adversity. She often tells the calves. And then, deep in the forest, there lived a fierce tiger called Arbuda. Once he was big and strong, but had become old and weak and having trouble even catching the smallest of prey. One day, he went to the outer edge of the forest, searching for easier access to food. He was roaming in the forest, hungry and weak. He came across the meadow where the cows were grazing peacefully. He licked his lips and thought to himself, "Ah, fatter cows! They're big and slow, even in my weakened state. I'm sure to be faster than them. I can catch one of the cow for my dinner, especially that big fat one seems to be slower than the rest." He hid behind the rock and waited for his chance. As evening fell, all the cows eat their fill, and the cowherd set off for home. The tiger smiled and set off. Punyakoti, for the slower cow, was none other than Punyakoti. Caught the scent of the tiger, she turned back and saw the tiger was chasing after her. She ran fast and fast as she could, thinking of her dear life. The tiger ran faster than the cow, thinking of the hearty meals going to have. Her lungs were bursting, her legs began to buckle. She kept slowing down, and the tiger bounced on her. The tiger was about to land a killing blow, but Punyakoti addressed him in a calm voice. Oh, mighty tiger, please, please, spare my life. She pleaded. The tiger's a mood. Spaniard, why would I do that? I'm a mother. The little calf at the village will be waiting for my arrival. Please have mercy and spare my life. Ha! I haven't eaten for days. If I spy you, how will I satisfy my hunger? How will I ever eat? If I let go of every animal that pleads for mercy, huh? Punyakoti heard the tiger in silence. She realized the truth in the tiger's sentiments and said, Oh, brave tiger, you're right. But God gave it the ability to hunt other animals and feed yourself. It's the way of the world. And I cannot deny you your food you have just got. It's not fair for me to ask it as an exception. Tiger was taken aback. He had killed innumerable animals in his lifetime, but none of them spoke to him thus. Punyakoti continued, But my little calf would be very hungry. He would be wondering where his mother is, and against the evening meal. Please, let me go, feed him for one last time, and I will come here, and I will happily become your meal. The tiger was speechless for a moment, and then began to laugh. Don't act like a stupid, huh? How will I believe that you'll come back? How will I know you'll come back? It's better to kill you now and eat you now. Oh, valiant tiger. I'm asking you this favor not for me, but for my poor little calf. He will be wondering where his mother is. At least, let him know from now he will be on his own. Promise you that he'll come back, and I will never break a promise. Never. Now, the tiger was in dilemma. He was moved by the brave cow's plea and the love between the cow and the calf. What if she doesn't come back? He trusted his instincts and let go of the cow by its wishes. All right, you can go back to your calf, feed him for one last time, and come back here as soon as possible. I'll wait for you here. And so saying, he found a soft spot in a tree and lay down to rest. Punyakoti thanked the tiger and ran back to the village as fast as she could. But the calf was scared and hungry. All the cows came home except his mother. As soon as he saw her, he ran to her. Punyakoti soothed him and fed him. But the little calf was miserable. Please don't go back, mother. Please, please stay with me, he wailed. Punyakoti held her son gently and explained where she was going. My son, I have made a promise to the tiger. You wouldn't want your mother to make a promise, would you? But I need you. Who will look after me when I gone? And who will feed me? And who will tell me stories at night? Punyakoti gathered all the cows together and explained where she was going. Please take care of my son. If he is in front of you, please don't poke him with your horns. If he is behind you, please don't kick him. Appealed Punyakoti. All her friends begged her to stay, but Punyakoti disagreed. You're free now. There's no need for you to stay, only to be eaten by the cruel beast, said her friend. An old cow came towards Punyakoti and said, Oh, my dear Punyakoti, I'm weak and old, deceased. It's better I go instead of you and become the tiger's meal. But Punyakoti disagreed. I gave my word to the tiger, and I must always remain honest. I need to listen to the tiger, she reiterated. Punyakoti looked at the calf with a sad smile. Goodbye, my son. Be a good calf. Do not trouble the herd. And always be true to yourself. With the final goodbyes to her little one and her friends, she turned her back to the herd with grim determination and walked back to the forest. Meanwhile, in the forest, the tiger was bristling with hunger. As his hunger grew and his weakness enveloped him, he started to curse himself. He couldn't believe that he promised the cow to get away and let go of his dinner. Punyakoti was so sad that she was leaving her little one in the village, in the forest. Who in their right minds will to their certain death? Doesn't look like she's coming back. If other animals come to know this, they'll laugh at me. Oh, what I've done! The tiger felt more than he saw a movement in the distance. His aging eyes could only see a dark shape approaching him. He could not believe that Punyakoti walked towards him and stood before him. Punyakoti addressed him. Oh, dearest tiger, here I am. Promise you that I'll come back. I offer you my heartfelt thanks for allowing me to go feed my cow for one last time and say last goodbyes. Sorry for keeping you waiting. And so saying, here I am. Please satisfy your hunger. The tiger was astounded. You know you'll meet your end, then why did you come back? Punyakoti smiled in response. I give my word to you, tiger. I must always remain honest. Please accept me as your meal. Moved and humbled, he kept busy for so much time. For a longer time, he kept thinking. And finally, he shook his head. I cannot eat you. If I wouldn't, it's better to die of hunger, he said in the softest voice he could manage. Sorry for threatening you. If I die of hunger, it's better than killing a heartfelt, truthful soul like you. And then he finally bowed to her and disappeared in the forest. Thank you.
Hi, Divya.
Hey, Veena, Leah, Kelly, Ishan, and Sanvi and Daisy, all of you, wonderful job, guys. It takes a lot to come in front of the audience and, tell a story through the language, the modulation, prop, song, everything. It was great watching you. It was such a delight. And the choice of stories was so well chosen. So they know the story, so they could follow it through, So very nice. Just wanted the song and all, was it coached, Kalyan, or was it their own creativity?
The first one, the happy song, I just told her, use the happy song, just come up with what you want to do in that. So she picked the words and I said, just use the happy, happy chorus throughout. So beyond that, there was no coaching on that. The second one, I actually found some text which had some songs in it, but it was not going well with the rhythm and everything. So actually, I had to rewrite some of those. The first two verses were, I think, picked from the story, and the rest of the verses actually I rewrote all of them. So I wrote out them and gave it to them, and I think that's one part where he had to memorize that a little bit.
Yeah, but
And
even
set it to tune, of course. Although the tune he came out and what I had said was slightly different, but it's what it is.
but he still did managed a lovely job of it. It's very nice to hear it. So wonderful job, guys, all of you. Good show.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing these stories.
So, Uncle K, this is Divya.
Hi,
One
Divya.
more Divya here. Hi. Lovely children, lovely. Really, it was pleasant to see all your performances. Daisy, that was wonderful expression, dear. You used the props like pro. I loved your performance. I was thinking, the tiger and the cow story can be brought like this. Really, you inspired me in a more way. And the first songs, and Uncle K, you have given a good practice on adding on elements in the story. All the kids performed really well. Kudos to everyone and well done, Uncle K. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Divya. On the props for Daisy, it was only yesterday that she started working with the props.
Oh,
We've been practicing the stories for about a couple of weeks now, but it's only yesterday that I actually gave her the props in hand and said, okay, do what you can with it. And that's what she came up with.
that is also what I could see. Somehow she could tell the story without the props,
Yeah,
but it was nice to have the props, and I think she did it very well. She did it well. There's one thing more I'm thinking on, except for thank you, all of you. I'm so happy to see new young storytellers. You all will be wonderful storytellers, and you still are. The way you worked, you said you worked with, you tell the stories write in text, and then you tell the parents to read and to read it into
that's actually a suggestion I give to some kids, but for most of the kids in today's program, for most, at least three, four of them, I personally sat through and I've orally told the story to them again and again and again.
Hmm.
They had a script, but that was what the script we used and the what story I told them orally was very different. I had to keep it simple for their age and for their vocabulary and all that. So most of the stories here, 5 out of 6, they learn the stories mostly through oral retelling.
That's beautiful. That's wonderful. But I was just thinking in a way of connecting parents towards
Yeah,
children.
that
That's
would
a
be
very
ideal.
that's a
That would
very
be
good
ideal.
idea. So they can connect and they can discuss, and also the parent will get into storytelling and they will get to know. Uh, yeah, yeah, it's a very
Yeah,
good idea, I
that's
think.
a good thing to do if your parents are happy to help you out. Another thing, of course, I always recommend the kids two things. One, practice in front of a mirror. So you see yourself, you see your expressions, you see your actions, and you're also able to make out what messages you're sending through your facial expressions. The other thing is, of course, to have a partner. So you work in partners. So for last 2 days, they have been giving them, putting two of them together, and I told them, tell your stories to each other. And so they tell it to each other, and they get feedback from each other, and they still work on it. So these are two other things that I thought I should share. So working the story in front of the mirror and working with a partner are two ways of improving the storytelling elements of the story. Um, so here we are. We started this only about 2.5 weeks ago. I didn't want to start too far ahead as well because the kids will get bored at this age. So I thought 2 to 3 weeks is ideal. So it's only been 2.5 weeks since we started. I gave them the stories and they started working on it. And then I have access to them on a daily basis. So it's easier for me to do the coaching. If it wasn't, then it would have been ideal for a parent to work through with them.
So you have met every day.
For the last 10 days, yes.
Hmm.
So because I have another batch tomorrow, same time, 6 to 7:30 India time, where I have 5 teenagers telling stories, one tween and 4 teenagers telling stories. So I had 11 kids to work with, and I've been working with them for the last 10 days.
Wonderful. Thank you. It's been a great session. And
Thanks, Eric.
this is the first year that the Chennai Storytelling Festival has had storytelling by children.
Yeah.
And the time has come. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. Like I said, thanks for the platform, providing us a platform to tell the stories. I think these kids, all kids are natural storytellers in their own ways. So it's all up to us to bring it out and make them more proficient at it.
Great.
So I hope all of you will join us tomorrow. I have, like I said, 5 other storytellers, the older kids who will be telling stories tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you. Thanks.